Good morning. It is an early 8:15 on a Friday, August 14th. And my name is Larry Cedar, and I'm back with you for another session on what I call scanning, which is a relaxation technique which utilizes the incremental release of muscular tension to achieve a deep state of physical, emotional, and mental calm. So that's why we're here, to practice scanning, to practice incremental muscular release. And the reason I'm bringing these sessions to you as I do, these are basically like the public versions of what I practice regularly on my own. And I bring these sessions to the public in case they might be of value to you. I've studied a lot of different forms of relaxation and spiritual enlightenment. You know, I'm basically a human explorer of human nature, what makes us tick, what makes us happy, what makes us sad. A lot of things, and over the years, you know, I've kind of distilled it down to a few things. And basically, this particular method is one that I've found, that I've stayed with for years, that has been the most effective on a consistent basis for me. And when I say effective on a consistent basis, I mean as recently as a few hours ago. And maybe you have a similar experience. I'll wake up sometimes in the middle of the night, you know, for various reasons, either dreams or whatever, and the accumulation of the day has somehow infused my mind with very panicky thoughts and fearful thoughts and obsessive thoughts, and I'll find it difficult to sleep. And I'll use this technique and it will calm me completely down. And when I say completely, I'll go from night to day. I will go from what seems like an inescapably agitated, mentally agitated, physically agitated state to complete and utter calm. Which always surprises me, because I always think, well, I'll get rid of some of the tension. But if you are able to turn off this physical tension, and by association this mental tension, it's almost like you've hit an off switch. It's like your body seems to think it needs to be in this state for some reason. But if at some point you were able to clarify to the body that you don't, the body will go, oh, and it'll just drop it completely. So you gradually reduce the tension, and at some point it just switches off. It's always startling to me how I can go from a state of high agitation to a state of complete calm and neutrality. So I did that early this morning, in the early hours of the morning, 3, 4 in the morning. I was able to get back to sleep, and I can't almost remember why or what I was agitated about, but they're completely gone. Now, of course, over the course of the day, in working of various things that I'm working on and concerns, the agitation may build again, and I may have to do it again. And that's why I practice this regularly. The intention with this technique is not to eliminate tension and agitation and anxiety and compulsive feelings and physical, tension completely. It's to keep ourselves in check. If we're on a pendulum, if we swing between agitation and relaxation, or what I call contraction and expansion, we're going to keep doing that the rest of our lives. The rest of our lives, we're going to move back and forth between these states. What's a problem is if we get stuck in an agitated, contracted state and we don't know how to bring ourselves out. So this is a technique which allows you to bring yourself back into an expanded state and achieve a balance. That's what we're looking for in life. Hi, Eric. Eric, my friend Eric is here, and he says, fearful, panicky, obsessive thoughts. Glad to hear I am not the only one. Oh my God, Eric, you are so not the only one. I join you in your fearful, panicky, obsessive thoughts. I think we're all dealing with that these days, and it's just useful to have a tool that can take us out of that. You will go back to it, but that can bring you out of it. And again, that can bring you out of it without having to take a pill, without having to drink alcohol or smoke a joint, without having to reach outside yourself for some external process. To find that you have this power within you to regulate your state of consciousness is wonderfully empowering. It's just nice to know. And I reach for this technique regularly, and I'm grateful for it. And I'm astonished sometimes at how deeply I can get into these states of panic and contraction and how this still can extract me. So let's get to work. Again, it's called scanning, and that alludes to the fact that you are scanning your body for pockets of muscular tension. There's no philosophy per se behind this technique. It's not based on anything other than a physical action, a physical task. It's a sort of and I don't mean this in an insulting way, insulting myself. It's a sort of a dumb process. All we're doing is relaxing the muscles. That's all we're practicing, is releasing muscular tension. The theory being, and I've seen it work repeatedly, so I know it works, that by releasing muscular tension, it infuses your body with this state of expansion, which in turn infuses your mind with a state of expansion. Your mind expands. The mind is a muscle of sorts holding on to negative obsessive thoughts. When that relaxes, those thoughts are released and they fly away, and you are calm in a neutral, still, calm place. So that's all we're going to work on today, is releasing muscular tension. I'm not even going to talk about the theory or background today. Let's just get right to it. Squeeze your hands together. That's contraction. Thaddeus Golas, I will just credit Thaddeus Golas, an author who wrote a book called The Lazy Man's Guide to Enlightenment, postulated that the universe is made of two processes: contraction, squeeze your hands together, or expansion. So that's all we're working with here. Moving ourselves from a state of contraction into a state of expansion. You will go back and forth between these two states, as I said, all day for the rest of your life. But what's nice to know is you can bring yourself out of a state of contraction. So squeeze your hands tight together. That's contraction. Now, I might say, and keep your hands squeezed while I'm saying this, because I want you to really experience this sensation of contraction. I might suggest that when you feel bad, upset, anxious, full of compulsive thoughts, racked with physical tension, you are in an excessively or overly contracted state. It's a great way of looking at your world, at your universe. Am I in a contracted state or an expanded state? Very simple. It breaks all of life, all of the universe, into these two basic templates. So, for example, last night when I was agitated and thinking obsessive thoughts and racked with tension and unable to sleep, I was in a highly contracted state. Thoughts are contractions. The bringing together of words, letters, ideas are contractions. So I was highly contracted. I was obsessively thinking about things. My body was very uncomfortable. My body was contracted. And that's what this is representing. When you squeeze your hands together, you are contracted. Now, what do we do when we're contracted? When we feel bad? Okay, so we reach for a beer, we reach for a joint, we pop the pill the doctor gave us to calm us down. I've been prescribed Prozac. A doctor once told me I should take Prozac because I was anxious. And I told him that can't happen. I'm an actor. I need to feel, even if it's bad. I can't be cutting off my feelings. He kind of laughed and said, okay, your choice. But I had to figure out a way to calm myself down. So it's nice to know there's a way to naturally pull yourself out of this state of contraction. How do you do it? It's so simple, it seems ridiculous to even be saying it. Let go. 3, 2, 1, release. Now drop your hands to your sides and take a deep breath. So what just happened? You say, well, nothing. I let go of my tension. Who let go of their tension? You did. You decided to let go of that contracted state by expanding. You did that. You did that. You go, well, yeah, of course I did that. I can do that. Yes, you can. So we have that power within us to expand. And when I say expansion, not muscular expansion, not just muscular expansion, but expand our minds. We have that power. It's a choice. We forget that. And it's not just that we forget it. Sometimes the easier thing to do is to take a pill, or to take a shot of whiskey, or to smoke a joint. It's the easier thing to do because it's handing the control over to somebody else. Here, you do it. Here, joint. Here, drink. Here, pill. You do this for me. I haven't got the strength to let go of my own contraction. Do it for me. I don't know how to relax. Do it for me. Please, take over. Drugs, take over. Do it for me. So, these substances do it for you, but you pay a huge price for taking those substances, and we all know what they are. So then that begs the question, why do you need to have some other force, some external process, do it for you? Why are you so afraid? Why are you so resistant to letting go of tension? If you have the power within you to let it go, why not just do it? Very simple reason. Control feels safe. Control feels secure. Control, even if it's bad for us, contraction, it feels like it's protecting us. Muscular contraction is a physical guard. Mental contraction, mental structures are a mental guard that protect us against all the things we feel are threatening us in life. This is why we take such severe political positions. And I look around now and I see that people have taken very firm, hard political positions, and they will not let them go. That's why no one's talking to each other. We're so afraid that if we let go of our political position, we'll lose the battle. And we get physically racked with tension and pain because we're so afraid that if we let go, we will be physically vulnerable. So we're afraid. We're desperately afraid to let go of this contraction. We form these contractions to protect ourselves instinctively, and we're desperately afraid to let go. So we say, whiskey, you do it for me. Marijuana, you do it for me. Pill, you do it for me. I'm too afraid. And then you take a shot and, Oh, I feel great. Thank you. Thank you, man. I needed a drink. I needed a drink. Okay, great. So you needed an assist. We all need an assist now and then. The problem is if we become dependent on that assist, then we start to feel really crappy because we need something. It's weakened us. We feel dependent. We know instinctively it's bad for us. So if we can find a way to release this contraction, to release this tension, physical, emotional, and mental, ourselves, so that we are in control, it's incredibly empowering because you realize that at any given time, any moment in your life, you can induce expansion. You just did it. Squeeze your hands together. 3, 2, 1, release. Drop your hands, take a deep breath. You just did it. So you say, well, I didn't do anything. So what? You started. And because this process involves the incremental release of muscular tension, small steps matter. Incremental, microscopic steps matter, and I'll tell you why. You cannot physically contract and expand at the same time. It's an impossibility. Everything in the universe is either contracting or expanding or alternating between the two, but it is never doing both at the same time. And the reason I tell you that is to explain that the moment you begin to expand, you have stopped contracting. You've broken the cycle. No matter how small a step towards expansion you've taken, you have broken the cycle of contraction. So, you may be like me last night, and I started the process and I let go of some muscular tension, and I'm going to show you the specific steps in a minute. I let go of that muscular tension, and I said, I still feel tense. I still feel really fucked up. Excuse my French. I'm still a mess. Yes, yes, yes. It's a difficult process to extract ourselves from contraction. We're desperately holding on out of fear. It's a difficult process. Your mind will send you messages like, this isn't working. I hate this. I don't want to do this. I'd rather have a drink. It's easier. Your mind will fight you as though it was just at war. It will go to war with you. Anything to keep from expanding because it instinctively feels and believes that it is safer staying where it is, contracted. However, with each expansion, each expansive step you take, the deep breaths, you are moving yourself away from that contraction. And if you can be patient and disciplined, and that's where the practice comes in for this technique, if you can be disciplined and patient and keep at it, no matter what messages your mind and body are telling you about how stop, I don't like this, I don't want to do it, go away. If you can keep going, you will break through. Expansion is cumulative. With each expansive step, you get deeper and deeper and deeper into a state of expansion. And at some point, I promise you, you will break through and your body will go, oh, I see. Expansion feels good too. In fact, it feels better. Now, I've done this process thousands of times. And do you know I still have to work against that resistance? So you're always going to resist. But as you practice, you will begin to realize there is the possibility of extracting yourself if you can just stay with it. So you stay with it because you know the benefit's unbelievable. So that's where the resistance comes from. That's why we would prefer to take a pill or smoke a joint, because we just don't think we can overcome ourselves. We need someone else to do it for us. We go to a therapist, help me. We all need help now and then. I don't have anything against going to others for help and assistance. I do have a problem with things that harm us physically. That's why I tend to avoid the chemical route. I want to avoid the chemical route. But you can do it yourself. So let's get started. Squeeze your hands together, tight, tight, tight. That's contraction. That's you. 3, 2, 1, release. See what that feels like. Do it one more time. What does contraction feel like? Tight. You're holding your breath. Takes muscular effort, concentration, focus. It feels strong. It feels good. Contraction is a useful tool. But when we're overly contracted, we become restricted, restrained, limited. So 3, 2, 1, release. What does that feel like? I always say release equals relief. You are relieved because you no longer have to work. You've taken the pressure off yourself. Drop your hands in your lap and take a deep, deep breath. This is what I call the preliminary phase of scanning. We're shocking ourselves. We're pulling ourselves out of our deep state of contraction through release of the hands. Secondly, through deep, deep breaths. Take another. And one more. And another. Now sit for 15 seconds in stillness and silence. Close your eyes if you like. Why stillness and silence? Contraction is an active state. Obsessive words and thoughts are active states. They are forms of contraction. Muscular contraction, mental contraction. Deep breaths are a form of expansion, physical expansion. Silence is the absence of words and thoughts. If words and thoughts are a contraction, silence is the opposite. You're moving yourself towards expansion. Stillness is the opposite of physical action. Stillness is a form of expansion. You've stopped contracting. So all these are preliminary physical steps. We're literally taking ourselves by the collar and dragging ourselves out of this cave of contraction. We've said, no more. You are going to stop contracting and start expanding. So we're physically grabbing ourselves. Deep breaths, if you learn nothing else, if you take nothing else from these sessions, deep breaths will always help bring you out of a state of contraction. Deep breaths followed by stillness and silence. If you can just cycle through several deep breaths, followed by 15 to 30 seconds of stillness and silence, and then repeat, you will be amazed at the results. Because that physical process in and of itself is dragging you out of your contracted state and into an expanded state. And then see how that feels. How do you feel different? We've only done it a couple times. I always have the same experience. I feel still. Just from those few deep breaths, those few contractions and expansions, and that stillness and silence, I feel somehow as though my state of being is more still. That's the only way I can explain it. That place of stillness and silence and calm, emptiness, detachment is where we're headed. When you are completely expanded, there's nothing you need to do. There's nowhere you need to go. There's nothing you need to say. There's nothing you need to be thinking. You're just being. Now, we just did this for 10, 15 minutes, and already for myself, and you have to gauge for yourself, already I feel different. And I'm taking a moment now to experience that. That's also a part of expansion. Taking a moment to just feel. To feel the beating of your heart, to raise your consciousness of the pumping of your blood, maybe a slight throbbing in your hands and feet, to listen to the sounds around you, to experience yourself. That's expansion. And it's important to pay attention to what that feels like. Because as we move into contracted states, now let me also make clear that contraction is the stuff of life. Contraction is getting up in the morning, checking your emails, eating breakfast, driving to work, working, having relationships with other people. These are all contractions. Contractions is the stuff of life. There's nothing wrong with contraction. We're talking about when you become overly contracted, when you're compulsively thinking, when you are physically racked with tension, you are overly contracted. We're moving ourselves back to an expanded state. And when we are contracted or over-contracted, we are active, we are thinking, we are working. These are great. But when you become overly contracted, you become detached from that part of you that knows what it is to just be. That's expansion. So you want to practice moving yourself back into this expanded neutral state. Now you may say, but I'm not doing anything. Exactly. You are not doing, you are being. Take a deep breath. So that's all it took. And I point that out to you to say that never underestimate the value of the slightest expansion. A deep breath is an expansion. Anywhere you are, at any given moment in your life, if you feel yourself becoming obsessive, restricted, restrained, tense, clouded, ineffective, take one deep breath. Now you'll say, it's just a breath. Yes. Any expansive step counts. And I say that because you can pepper your day with expansion. You can add a little bit here, a little bit there. You know, the expression is take a moment. Take a moment. Take a moment for yourself. Take a breath. Look around you. Listen. Stop talking. Pay attention. That's expansion. You know, Thaddeus Golus, on whose ideas I base this practice, said that when you are completely expanded, you're aware of everything, and everything's fine. You're hyper-conscious because you've stopped trying to control your universe and you've just become aware of your universe. You see things more clearly. You can solve problems more readily. You are less combative. You're more accepting. You're more interested. You're more curious. You're more responsive. You're more helpful. So it's a great place to be. Okay, so let's get into what I call the nuts and bolts of the technique. These were the preliminary. Those steps were intended, the squeeze and release, to heighten your consciousness of the difference between contraction and expansion, to take deep breaths, to literally expand your body, take in the oxygen, and to bring yourself out of the state of contraction, and then the moment of stillness and silence, to sort of readjust, to adapt to this new state, to quiet your mind, to still your body. Those are just preliminary steps to drag yourself out of your very rigidly held contracted state. You don't always need that. You might start this process and say, you know, I'm good. Let's just start. Fine. That's fine. You know, you're going to customize this technique for yourself. I mean, we have much in common as human beings, but in a million years, I'll never know what you're feeling really. And you'll never know what I'm really feeling, but we can describe it and talk to each other about it. But you're basically going to find what works for you. The main point being is that you want to move from contraction into expansion, whatever shape that may take. Now, I want to point out to you that a round of golf is a very expansive thing for many people. What do I want to do today? I got to go play some golf. Why? It feels good. I feel good when I'm out on that big green field and I'm just using my body and I feel active and alive. You are expanding. There are many forms of expansion. People have hobbies because they make them feel alive. They take their mind off of other things. Personally, I don't play golf, but I can understand the appeal. Anything you fully devote yourself to with complete attention and joy is expansive because you are accepting and loving that moment. So expansion takes many forms. This is just one form of expansion. So what I do here with this technique is incremental muscular release. So let's see, we've been going, I try not to go over half an hour with these, but basically what we're going to do is we're going to focus on every part of our body as though it was our fist. And when I say squeeze your fist, that's contraction, and then release, 3, 2, 1, release. That's what we're doing. That's muscular release, incremental muscular release. Now it's easy with the hands. We use our hands all the time. Make a fist, release, make a fist, release. Now let's move it up a little bit. You're going to get to where you can do that same sense of release with every part of your body. And that's where the practice comes in. That's why we practice scanning. Because at first it's going to seem weird and unfamiliar, and then you're going to get better at it. And you're going to find that you can get very specific, and you can be lying in bed or sitting in a chair and go, I need to relax the muscles of my neck. 3, 2, 1, release. Many times a release impulse will be followed by an impulse to take a breath. We tend to go around in life with this low level of muscular tension. We just are holding in some shape or another, even when we're just sitting in a chair or lying down. On some level, we're just holding. It's a form of contraction that we feel protects us. So many times when you direct a group of muscles to release, as the neck, try it. 3, 2, 1, release. You'll feel an impulse to take a deep breath. As you release a muscle group, it's like you've let your body out of jail. Muscular tension is like a jail of sorts. And as you free yourself up, your body's going to do what it's been dying to do this entire time you were in this contracted state, and that's breathe. It needs to breathe. So you'll go release. Take that breath. That's your body busting out. Have you ever seen those videos of there's a bull in a cage or a dog that's let out the front door and they just go nuts and they go running all around? Well, that's what it's like. You're in there dying to get out of all this contracted, states you put yourself in. And when you release even the smallest amount, your body goes, I gotta breathe. Oh, it's great to be free. Well, that's going to happen more and more and more as you release muscular tension. So I'm just jumping around to different muscle groups. There's 8 or 9 zones, I call them. But today, because we're almost out of time, I'm just going to focus on a few. So what I want you to do now is focus in on what it feels like to release the muscular tension of your neck, just like you release the muscles in your fist. Try that. 3, 2, 1, focus and release. What you're looking for is that slight awareness that, Yeah, I felt the muscle let go. I didn't know I could do that. I just thought I had to hold myself like this all day. I didn't realize that I could control my own musculature. Yes, you can. You will be amazed at how much control you have. Again, why not do it all the time? Because this feels safe. To be tight, to be holding feels like protected. If we let down our physical guard, we're exposed, we're vulnerable. We might start to feel things. We might start to want to cry because we've been holding in so much tension. That scares us, so we don't let go. So you're learning to direct your body to go against its own instincts for the better good. The neck. 3, 2, 1, release. And watch for little signs like your shoulders. My shoulders just dropped. That's another muscle group. The shoulders. 3, 2, 1, let them drop. Release. The face. 3, 2, 1, release. Now I do this 3, 2, 1 snap as a kind of a way to direct myself. I sort of become my own director. It's like I'm the recreation director on a cruise ship, and I'm teaching my body how to go through this thing. You know, I'm saying, okay, folks, 1, 2, 3. You can do however you want. You don't have to count. You don't have to snap. The main point is to go from a state of contraction into a state of expansion. To move a muscle group from a state of contraction, the neck, 3, 2, 1, into a state of expansion. Register how that feels. Do it again and take it even deeper. The top of the head. You go, well, what does that feel like? I didn't even know I carried tension in the top of the head. Yeah, there's muscles up here when you're thinking, when you're worried, you get kind of, that's why we get headaches. This is an excellent way to relieve migraines and headaches, scanning, because the root of migraines and headaches is a contraction of sorts. It's very painful, very, very painful. But if you can take yourself through these steps, and sometimes it takes a half an hour, have patience, just keep relaxing, 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 letting go, breathing. It's very healing. Relaxing, release of muscular tension is very healing. Way back, maybe before, I'm not sure, I'd even read Thaddeus Zgola's works. I went to a chiropractor. He was called a network chiropractor. I'd never heard of that. And a big basis of their technique, and that's why I say I didn't invent this. I think a lot of people understand the fundamental benefits of muscular relaxation. I had pulled a muscle severely in my calf. I was in the middle of a TV show, and I tore it. And they sent me off to, be fixed at a physical therapist, which didn't do a thing for me. So I went to my chiropractor, who is what I call a network chiropractor. And he said, what I'm going to do for you may not seem conventional, but see what it does for you. It was a Tuesday. They had told me at the physical therapist it'd be about a week till I was back on my feet. He said, I'm going to have you lie on a table, and I'm going to induce in you a deep, deep, deep state of relaxation. You're going to feel as though you almost can't move. Almost comatose. And he did it. One day, and then a second day, Wednesday. Thursday, I was back on my feet. And I said, what did you do? And he said, I allowed your body to get out of its own way, because of course I was in pain, so I was tense, I was anxious, I was worried about getting back to the job. He said, I induced this deep state of relaxation that allowed your body to get out of its own way and do what it needed to do to heal you as quickly and as effectively as possible. I allowed your body to heal itself. I got you out of your body's way. I never forgot that. I never forgot that. Again, the power that you have within you to heal yourself is enormous. Enormous. But we forget, we lose touch with that, so we reach for external processes to heal us and save us, which is fine if it works. But wouldn't it be nice if we could recognize and activate our ability to heal ourselves, not just physically, but emotionally and mentally, to bring ourselves out of our states of deep contraction into a state of expansion until we are back to center, to neutral. So that's all this is about. So I'm going to wrap this up because, again, it's been about a half an hour, and I don't like to go any longer than a half an hour. The main concept being incremental muscular release. And if you want to review, I welcome you to review this session. I'm going to repost it on my Facebook page right now. I also post these sessions on my Sqanning Facebook page, Sqanning. You can watch them there. I do the same thing every session. I have distilled this technique down to the basic process of incremental muscular release. And you want to explore that for yourself and see how it feels and see what it does for you. And take as much time as you can. It's cumulative. If you can afford an hour, take it. Just sit in a chair and just do this for an hour. The only thing you're going to have to contend with is your own resistance to the process. But you will see that you can get past that. I recommend you do this at least once a day. I do it 2 or 3 times a day. Especially in these very difficult times, I find that it really helps me. It stabilizes me mentally, physically, emotionally, and it heals me. And so I bring it to you to share. So that's it for today. Thank you all for sharing this with me. And if you enjoy it and it works for you, please share it with others. It's the simplest, most natural, self-healing, self-help process I've ever discovered. And I'm grateful for having discovered it because it's helped me immensely. And I think it's of value. So I have a message here from my friend Richard Gill. Richard says, "Hi, Larry." Hope you don't mind my reading what you wrote, Richard. That's a concept used in vocal training. Richard is an amazing vocal coach. If you need a singing coach extraordinaire, private message me. I will give you Richard's number. He has saved me in many a show. So Richard says, that's a concept I use in vocal training, where the student needs to get out of their own way and let the voice do the work. Great session. Thanks. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm glad it works. And yes, that's true. In voice, in athletics, in acting, in accounting, in medicine, I don't think there's a thing in the world, a process in the world that isn't benefited by relaxation. And I believe that with all my heart. So thank you all again for coming today. I try to be here every day if possible, but sometimes every other day. In any case, as I said, these sessions are reposted. I always end each session by saying, please follow rule number 1, which is love yourself. You're what you were given. It's what you got. You got to love it, for better or worse. We're all divine creatures. There's as much love in the world available as you need. There's an infinite amount, so just give it to yourself. And when you have so much that it's just spilling over, you have extra, pass it around and give it to the rest of us because we could all use it. All right, folks, have a great weekend. Take care and see you next time. Bye-bye.